Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Jay Berkowitz. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Adi.
It's so great to have you on the podcast. I was a guest on yours a couple of months ago, and we created a great episode. We spoke about, of course, processes and procedures, and we definitely touched upon why processes are important, and I'm going to introduce you and what you do, but I'm even more excited about our episode today because we're going to talk all about marketing and the 10 golden rules of marketing that you develop, which I want our listeners to know all about. So let's first of all do it more officially, start with a bio. So Jay, you are a best-selling author, a keynote speaker, an award-winning marketing thought leader with over 25 years of experience. You have led marketing for Fortune 500 brands like Coca-Cola, Sprint, McDonald's, and developed strategies for AT&T and eDiets.com. You are the founder and CEO of the 10 Golden Rules, and you specialize in online marketing for law firms, and you authored multiple books, including the 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. So we, of course...
That's this one over my shoulder.
Over your shoulder. Okay, so our listeners and the viewers, when you're done, go to Amazon and order 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And you are a sought after speaker, and I can see why, because I heard you I heard your podcast, and you're doing also conventions, and you're definitely, you know what you're talking about, and you have a very engaging way of saying that. And our listeners can go to your website and read it, and I suggest that they do that, and you can see how the website is built. The communication that you give there is very clear and very easy to understand. So you're a sought after speaker. You have presented at major conferences. You've been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Fox Business TV, and the business journals. So definitely know what you're talking about. And Jay, again, thank you for being a guest on this podcast. We're going to have a great conversation about the rules of marketing, because I like the rules. I like the systems. I like creating systems out of everything, right?
If you could get all of marketing down to 10 rules, that definitely fits in your world, right?
Absolutely. It will be a system, but it also gives you the freedom to create. So that's what we discussed when we spoke on your podcast, is that we do have to have some kind of a system to have the freedom to create. And that's why you develop that particular system, so then you can create on top of it, but you need to know where you're going, and that's the roadmap. So, before we dive into the 10 golden rules, I want the listeners to hear your story. You came from being an advisor and a marketing guru, marketing expert for Fortune 500 companies. And now you decided at some point to, okay, I'm going to open my own agency or my own company, and I'm going to work with lawyers to help them do marketing in the correct way. What led you to do that?
Well, I was always attracted to marketing, and I was lucky. My first summer jobs were working in market research, and I got to work with ad agencies. And then I thought, okay, that's where those are the cool guys. And I went to ask one of them for a job, and he said, I'd love to talk to you about a job, but we just lost a big account to the guys across town. So I went across town, and I got my first job with an ad agency. And I was super lucky. I always tell the story. One of my buddies, that we actually had to share an office because we were the two new guys, and he had to work on the oil and gas account and did one brochure in a whole year. And I got to work on McDonald's restaurants. And so I got to do ads and TV and radio and billboards and campaigns and jingles. So really right out of the gate, I got to learn a ton about advertising and marketing. And then fast forward, I got to work as the director of marketing for McDonald's Canada. managing about a $40 million ad budget, doing everything from, the Ronald McDonald program. And I actually had an office next to Ronald McDonald, which was a lot of fun. And people are like, what do you mean? No, literally, like Ronald McDonald Canada, his office was right next to me, and he ran a program. And one weekend, Grimace would be at the Blueberry Festival, and Ronald McDonald would be at the big 40th anniversary parade. And he had characters and actors all around the country going out and representing McDonald's. And we TV, radio, billboard promotions. I came up with a promotion that ran nationally for 10 years, very, very successful. So I got to learn real hands-on advertising and marketing. And then I went to our partners, Coca-Cola, as a category manager, worked on a project that was relatively famous in the day. Not New Coke, but we actually did New Diet Coke in Canada. So we made all the same mistakes that they made with New Coke, which was called the world's greatest marketing mistake of all time. They changed the formulation on Coca-Cola and told people about it. And but everyone went crazy, but everybody had to pick a side. Then they had to decide, I'm a Coke person or a Pepsi person. And when they brought back the real Coke, everyone said, oh, great, my real Coke's back. And we did exactly the same thing with Diet Coke. But we found out that the Diet Coke base was even more embedded, and they really, really didn't like Diet Pepsi. So we made the mistake like twice as big, and it worked out really well in the end. So did some very, traditional advertising, marketing, $1.5 million TV production campaigns and commercials used all around the world. And then it's interesting. I was working at Coca-Cola, and internet websites came along, and Pepsi had a really cool website with interactive games and fun things for the kids to do, right? And Coke would only let us play the Coke jingle on the website. And I'm like, wait, we got, this is the new media. We've got to have fun stuff on our website. And they wouldn't let us. So I made a decision that I really wanted to move my career in the direction of the internet. Like I really made a bet on it, and obviously it paid off. Perhaps I should have started Facebook, because this was still like the 2000s, and Mark Zuckerberg was still in high school, but it all worked out great. And then I took my next job with Sprint, and I was getting companies their first websites, getting people their first emails. And then I moved to, I was sponsored into this great country. Like you, I'm an immigrant to the United States, and by a company called ediets.com, an online diet company. And again, it's very early days of the internet. We were generating all our traffic through banners on AOL and Yahoo and MSN. And Google was still in beta, and Mark Zuckerberg was still in high school. And we were putting 100,000 people a day onto this website and doing all kinds of testing and building a huge email database, A/B testing and landing pages and different offers. And we got very, very sophisticated at internet marketing in 2002. And it was, like I said, the very early days. And I was asked to speak at the Direct Marketing Association. And I wrote a presentation called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing to share everything. Now I had 4 or 5 years between Sprint and eDiets and some associations and stuff that I helped form. And we were doing the first lectures on internet marketing and stuff like that very, very early on. So this presentation was very well received, and a bunch of people asked me if I did consulting. And I said, sure, buy me lunch, I consult. So essentially, I've been doing the same thing for the last 23 years. My fees have gone up a little bit. I charge more than just lunch now, but the company went from just being me consulting to very quickly adding employees, and now we have 23 employees all around the world.
That's fantastic. What a great story. So tell us about the 10 golden rules. What are they?
Well, look, I mean, the first rule is there are no rules. So we can throw all the rest of them out. But I like that one because it was very compelling from the stage. But what I meant was, in digital marketing, we don't follow just rules. We actually can track the numbers. And in TV and billboards, we had a bunch of rules because you really didn't know what worked. What I mean by that,
what would be some of the rules in TV and marketing?
Great question. So, like, we used to, have general things that we thought worked really well for TV. And then we'd have these focus groups, and we'd ask consumers to go from like a storyboard. And which commercial do you think would make you want to go eat more McDonald's? like I remember sitting through a focus group with McDonald's salads and talking to moms. And, then we launched the salads and everybody went to McDonald's to get the salads, or ended up ordering a Big Mac and fries. But, but, really the rules were like, ask consumers to like envision a commercial from a storyboard. And then things like buying media, there was a thing called GRPs, gross rating points. I'm sure there still is. And, the rule was, well, if you did 350 gross rating points, you would have high enough awareness for your commercials. And that was, 35% of the population had to see the commercial 10 times on average. And 35 times 10 was 350. And so we kind of had these generalized rules. And, the one thing I could tell you for sure is that advertising worked. Because if we launched a new Happy Meal for McDonald's restaurants, we always started our new promotions on a Thursday night at 6 p.m. And the TV and radio would start. The billboards would be going up all day Thursday. And back in the old days, they had to take paper down and paste paper up like wallpaper to put the billboards up. And by Friday at noon, we started seeing some traffic. And all weekend, like if we had a Disney Happy Meal toy, we were slammed and we were up 10, 15, 20% for that weekend and for the next week, because everybody heard the news. So I know advertising worked, like it worked, and it moved the needle very, very quickly. But then ask me what worked, right? Was it the TV commercial? Was it the billboards? Was it the radio? The only thing that I'm pretty convinced on is there is a multiplication factor, where if somebody saw a billboard and heard a radio commercial, it wasn't 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 sort of equaled awareness. And I truly believe through some testing we did, where we only had billboards, or we had billboards, radio, and TV, or we had TV and radio, that the multiplicity effect was definitely significant. But I was always frustrated, and certainly the franchisees were frustrated. Like, hey, can we just do the radio and billboards? Can we save all the money on TV? And we did all these tests, and we could never definitively, know what worked to the penny. And then I loved when I started getting into direct mail, and in particular internet, because direct mail you could test, like send out a red envelope and a blue envelope, and which one got more people to return the coupons for the offer or whatever. And then internet would allow you to do the same thing, but you didn't have to wait 6 weeks for the results. So
let me ask you a question. I mean, what I experienced from my experience, it's true. You can get the blue envelope or the red envelope, so then you can count one-on-one. But I also found that you can send the envelopes out, and there will be all of a sudden people coming in without any envelopes, but it's still a direct. It's not a direct, but it's an indirect result of you sending it out. It's almost like magic. You send out those envelopes, and then you have people coming in, not necessarily with an envelope, but all of a sudden, like let's say a dental practice can send, they can send direct mail to a certain neighborhood, thousands of postcards, and then people walk in from somewhere else. But it has that correlation, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. And we struggle a little bit with the same thing on the internet today. Like, and actually Google has a fascinating thing called multi-factor attribution. And a lot of times people will do a search and they'll get an organic result, and then they'll come back and they'll type in the name of the website. Well, you would assume that they came direct and someone told them the name of the law firm or the marketing company or whatever it is. But the reality is, because Google can track that same device did an organic search that was generic, like they searched for, SEO marketing agency. And then a couple days later, they came back and typed in 10goldenrules.com. So that Google can give you that multi-factor attribution, where they know that they originally searched a pay-per-click ad or SEO. And in a lot of instances, you'll see 3 or 4 multi-factors, maybe 2 SEOs and 1 pay-per-click. And then we
all do it. I mean, I do it. Like, let's say I'm searching something, let's say there is an ad for a shoe that pops up. I hardly ever click on pop-up ads, because you never, I don't.
Yeah.
You see the company and you go, oh yeah, well, maybe I should look them up. Then I want to look if it's a bona fide company. Then I will always look for the website first. Happened to me this morning, not on something else. It was, oh, that's the name of the company. Well, who is that person? What is it? So then I do that search, and then I can get to it through there, and then probably then end up buying on Amazon. But it's just that link, that you actually chase. It happens.
Yeah, and we get you the other way too. If you go to the website, then we know we can target your device, and we can send you ads, and then you'll see ads when you're checking a stock price or looking for a flight. You'll see an ad for those shoes everywhere you go.
I know that's a problem.
Remarketing. Yeah, remarketing.
Exactly. So when you say there is no rules, are there really no rules?
Well, what that was designed to be interesting from the stage, right?
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is that in internet marketing, it's less about a theory, like billboards. Oh, you can only have 5 words on a billboard, and the font size needs to be this big, and it's proven to be pretty true. Like if you're driving at 60 miles an hour, you can't read like 40 words on a billboard. But we just followed these set of rules for like TV ads and GRPs and billboards, and they kind of sort of work.
GRP, what does that mean?
I was explaining before, the gross rating points.
Yeah.
How many times you need to show the ad on average to people, but that didn't account for people who changed the channel or went to get a beer during the commercials. So it was kind of theoretical, but the internet means we can measure very precisely to the penny. So like every day now we're looking at analysis, and let's say we spend $10,000 on Google ads and we get 100 clicks, and 10 people sign up. We know it's $1,000. So 10,000 divided by 10 people who sign up, like for a law firm, it's $1,000 to acquire a new case. And we know exactly to the penny, not only what that they came from Google, what keyword they searched, what ad they saw, whether they called or chatted, the chat interaction function, or filled out a form on the website. And we can constantly go back and refine the process based on what's working. The keywords that work, we're going to use those keywords more frequently, and we're going to use other keywords like that. The ads that worked, we're going to write other ads that are similar to those ads. The ads that don't work, we're going to get rid of them. And so it's a constant testing and refinement process. From the very early days at eDiets, we were doing a ton of testing. Matter of fact, I hired a team to develop a new banner ad every week, because I realized very quickly the average person was seeing our banners like 9.2 times a week. And it was 92% female target at eDiets. And so women would, back in those days, the way we used the internet, you went to AOL.com, you logged in, you got your email, and you saw some ads. And then you
got mail.
Yeah. Then you went to check, whatever entertainment, and you saw ads. And then you checked the sports scores and you saw ads. You checked your stocks and you saw ads. So that's really was our internet experience, was on AOL or Yahoo or MSN, whoever was our email provider. Generally, we used their portal for our internet information. And so we were running $40 million worth of ads on those websites to generate about $60 million in revenue. So we knew very, very precisely 100,000 people a day came to the website. And, literally we did a test of our sort of blue and green colored website. And we put a bunch of pink coloring under. We hired a very famous designer. And she said, we're targeting women, we should have women's colors. And we tested the blue-green site against the pink site. Guess which one won?
The blue-green.
Correct. However, the one of the pages on the pink landing page worked really, really well. We got a lot more email subscribers for people who didn't sign up for the diet. And that typically we would sign 1,000 new customers a day, and we would sign 1,000 new customers who signed up for the newsletter that day. So we would get 1,000 sales and 10,000 to 20,000 newsletter subscribers. And then we were sending 1 newsletter a week, then 2 newsletters a week. And we were, over time, people would sign up. And I always called it the diet moment. When someone would get asked to be in their girlfriend's wedding, or they booked a cruise, or, they couldn't fit into their pants or whatever. We all know those moments. And then they would get the newsletter.
That's the moment that triggers it. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I get it.
They would get the newsletter that day, and then they would sign up. So we knew essentially what I'm explaining in a long-winded way. Everything we did, we tracked very, very precisely.
And that's what it is. It's like you have the tracking, that's the process of marketing, is you gotta track it, and whatever works, that's basically the rule. That's why we're saying no rules.
Yeah.
What's the second rule, the second golden rule?
Well, the second rule, and I've kind of expanded into that topic a little bit too, but the second rule is the internet is not television. And essentially what I meant by that is that with a TV commercial, you could have emotion, you could tell a story, you could have music. And the internet at that time, and this might be one rule that would need a slight revision because they're 22 years old, but the internet 22 years ago, if you remember, was very crude. You didn't get the internet on your phone, and you couldn't feed video on the internet at all. You know, they had to be very simple static images. And so today you could play a commercial when people come to your website. You could have emotion and stories and music. And so the internet is not television today is not necessarily true. As a matter of fact, for most people, the internet is their television. So
Right,
perhaps that's
better.
one rule that didn't stand the test of time.
Yeah, so this doesn't stand. Okay, out. What's number 3?
Create a UVP. UVP is a unique value proposition, not the same as a unique selling proposition. And people sometimes confuse the two.
Let's talk about it. So what is a
unique
unique value proposition?
Well, I mean, first, a unique selling proposition, like for you, is that, you know, you'll create systems and processes and improve the business and improve employee onboarding and improve retention, improve customer satisfaction through developing great systems. And by the way, Adi, I'm so impressed with what you guys do.
Thank you.
And a unique value proposition would be something on your website that is compelling enough that people would take advantage of that when they came to your website. So for example, you could have a checklist. You know, here's the 17 things that you need to get started in developing your standard operating procedures.
Or like we have an ebook, like how to increase profitability by systematizing the business. So that's
Exactly.
a UVP.
And
Okay.
the intention with that, if we go back to the old internet when I wrote the rules, is that a lot of times people came to the website and even the best website fails at 98%. And what I mean by that and is typically only 2% of people would fill out the form on your website. And it's still true today. So if you could get 3 or 4%, in addition to the people who filled out the contact us form, if you could get 3 or 4% to download your free ebook or a checklist or watch a video and take action, you were significantly improving your chances of doing business with that customer.
Absolutely.
Because now they were on your email list. You could send out your email newsletter. You could send out follow-on emails. You could send case studies. You could offer them a meeting. You could invite them to a webinar. So the UVP is designed to significantly improve the unique value proposition, something unique on your website that you offer of high value. Another phrase for it, I love this one. My friend Jeff Walker called it a unique bribe. Sorry, an ethical bribe. So
right.
it's
So,
like,
you know,
if
you
give
work
me
with a
your
lot of
email.
lawyers. You work with a lot of lawyers, and sometimes they, you know, they might have the idea that it might not be ethical to do something for free, or they have a very strict code of ethics, etc. How do you apply to lawyers? So I understand like unique selling proposition. Let's say you have, let's take an injury, a personal injury lawyer that you deal with many of those. What will be an example of a unique selling proposition for them as opposed to a UVP?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And I'll answer the question, but first I want to tell you a funny story. So we had so much success with UVPs for many years. On the 10 Golden Rules site, you can download the 10 Golden Rules ebook and, you know, multiple other UVPs that we've done for clients over the years. And so some of the first personal injury lawyers we worked with, we said, you know, this is great. You've got to have a UVP, a unique value proposition. And so we would do things like, remember we wrote the Charleston Car Accident Lawyers Charleston Car Accident Handbook. And we had things to do, how to fight the insurance company, you know, treatment options, a list of chiropractors, a list of MRI clinics. And then we got all those folks to link to this handbook, and we thought we were doing so great. But what happened was fewer people called the firm and more people downloaded the handbook. And our conversions of actually clients went down. So, you know, the moral of the story is back to rule number 1. There are no rules. Sorry, I clicked something. You went away. So back to rule number one, there are no rules. Like, it's really all about testing. So what we found was, by far and away, the best UVP, unique value proposition, on a law firm's website is call us for a free consultation. And in fact, that's about 10 times better than fill out our form. Because when you have a personal injury, you're going to make a decision in a couple of days to hire a lawyer. So if somebody fills out a UVP or fills out a form, and then you call them back 9 times out of 10, they don't even answer the phone these days. So it's very, very critical that we're focused on one action. And it is a unique value proposition, like call us for a free consultation. No
It
fee,
is.
no fee unless we win. And then
Basically, the moral of that story is don't give, obviously give free advice, but don't give everything that it becomes a solution and they don't call you anymore.
Yeah. And even a bigger umbrella moral of the story is there's no one answer, there's no silver bullet. You've got to test, and then you've got to constantly retest. Like, the way the market performs today is, I guarantee you, is going to be different in 6 months. Your competitors are going to innovate some other different way. They're going to have a better offer. They're going to have another UVP, and the market's going to change. But you asked us.
But Jay, also, like, in terms of the UVP, you can also do it so you don't give all the information. Like yesterday, for instance, I was on an insurance company's website, and I'm right now doing some renovations at my home. So it says, how to, like, the effect of renovations on your insurance. I go like, oh, I want to know about that because that interests me. But I read it, but at the end, I go like, what I got out of it, that I should call my agent to find out, because it did say that, if you're installing this or installing that, it might devalue it, it might increase. Make sure you talk to your agent. And if you do this, you want to have extra insurance because you might, there might people, more people working in your house. It can be a little bit more, all of that. But what it did, it gave me the idea that I understand why, but it didn't give me the full, because still I got through the article understanding now better that I might need more insurance, but it didn't give me the solution of what insurance. But it did say, that's why you need to, if you are in the middle of renovating right now, call your insurance agent. I was like, okay, so that is an example of a great UVP, because it gave the value of like explaining to me something, but it didn't give everything. Like if it would have said, this is what you need to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll go like, okay, I don't need it, but I do need to call the agent but now I can ask intelligent questions. So it helps both. It helps me and it helps the company.
Sounds like they got it about right. We say you should give about 30% of the information so that you give a lot of value. And they're like, wow, if I get all this for free, this company has a lot more value. And the other guideline they followed is the what, the why, but not the how. So they told you what it was, why it was important. And how is you got to call your agent to figure out exactly how to structure your policy.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the guideline that we recommend.
I think it's brilliant. Okay, so that was 2. What is number 3? Or did you answer do you want to say anything more?
Number 3 was create a UVP. Number 4 is if you build it, they won't just come. And that there's millions of websites that are in the website graveyard today that people spent even millions of dollars building these incredible websites, and they spent their whole budget and they didn't have the wherewithal, the funds, or the know-how to drive people to the site. So you have to, you can't just build it. You have to do SEO, you have to do paid advertising, you have to do traditional marketing, press releases to get people to come to your website. So if you build it, they're not just going to magically appear. Now, if you build it with phenomenal SEO, you are going to get some traffic, but you can't just build a website with SEO. SEO, search engine optimization, is an ongoing practice.
It is, absolutely. And I think applying the UVP principle, we cover 4 out of 10, so it's 40%. I think our listeners now know, okay, I want to know the rest. Good. So you actually have to go. So this is a great to your website to find out. So if they want to read the rest of the golden rules, and I have more questions for you, we're not done, but if they want to read the rest, where should they go?
10goldenrules.com, TEN goldenrules.com. And another piece of advice is, if you like this kind of education and you think this is helpful for you, my YouTube channel is probably one of the best places to go. The 10 Golden Rules YouTube channel. We've had over 900,000 views on our online educational videos, and we cover everything from SEO, social media. We talk about EOS and all kinds of topics. So it's been very, very helpful for us and very helpful for 900,000 people. Can't be wrong.
That's amazing. You're going to get to 1 million very quick.
Yeah, it's 20 or 30,000 a month. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be exciting.
That's amazing. And yeah, and let's give a big shout out also to the Profit Recipe, which introduced us. That's where we met. I was giving a seminar about process improvement. And I know you are the visionary and you go, oh, wow, okay, process improvement. But we still got something out of it, that you were gracious enough to invite me to your podcast. So despite being a visionary, still processes definitely communicated to you. And the importance of
and
that.
Adiz's podcast interview, because we do audio, but we also do video, is also on the YouTube channel.
That's right. That's right. So definitely big shout out to the Profit Recipe. Thank you for the introduction, and go to the 10goldenrules.com, 10goldenrules.com.
Yeah, exactly.
And download the ebook so you can find out the rest of the 6, because I'm telling you, you want to know about it. Jay, I'm curious, you're dealing with an industry that usually probably has some aversion to advertising. It might be looked at not ethical, not the right thing to do. And I hear it throughout my years and years of working with thousands of entrepreneurs. There are some people that have that idea, not just as lawyers, but also maybe doctors, dentists, and some people feel like, it's not ethical for me to advertise. How do you break that misconception?
I mean, I certainly know the lawyers better than the doctors, but I think that's really changed in most of their philosophy. Like certainly the personal injury lawyers, they're dominating almost every billboard and TV commercial these days.
That's true.
So they're not shy to advertise. And the old boys network, where you couldn't advertise, was broken in the 70s. Actually, a firm in Arizona successfully appealed to the Supreme Court to be able to run advertising. And until that time, it was in fact illegal or against bar regulations to run.
I can tell you, it's still the ripple effect of that still remains, because that could be a misconception of some people out there.
No, and definitely you have to stay within the bar regulations as attorneys, and the probably medical association regulations in medical. And even Google's tough on attorneys in medical. Like the remarketing we talked about earlier is hard to do in legal, and almost impossible in medical, and with good reason, because if you were researching cancer, and it might have been for a friend or something, you don't want cancer popping up when your kids are on the site, on your computer, or when you're at work for your coworkers and stuff like that. So remarketing ads don't work in a lot of the categories we're talking about. But I mean, for the most part, most of the attorneys have certainly come around to advertising and marketing. And in fact, most of the personal injury attorneys, who are the ones who spend the most money, it's not their first rodeo. Like everybody we meet has had 2 or 3 websites and 2 or 3 sets of web guys or SEO guys or whatever they call us. I call us, digital marketers, but they, they're very aggressive with SEO, pay-per-click, local service ads, video, almost anything we can do, they're willing to try it.
That's good. So what is your unique selling proposition for your firm?
Well, our unique selling proposition is a unique process that we've developed over the 20 years. And it's basically a 3-phase thing. The first phase is how to attract prospects. And it's not just digital marketing. It's through partnerships and referrals and social media and PR and all different kinds of investment to attract great prospects. And the second phase is conversion. And obviously, you've got to be great on the phone, as we talked about earlier. You've got to have the latest chat technology. And then we actually do an analysis using artificial intelligence on the quality of the calls and the ability to convert those calls and actually sell on those phone calls. Because at the end of the day, I can deliver the leads to the door, but the firm's got to convert someone and sign them up as a client, or it's, there's only so much we can do. So we've gotten very involved in that side of the process. And then the final stage is what I call 5-star operations. And we help the firms with a number of different programs that help them give 5-star service. the biggest bar complaint for customers of law firms is my lawyer doesn't get back to me. I don't know the status of my case. So there's softwares we recommend and processes that we recommend to the firms to give that 5-star concierge service. And then that's so important because a lot of what we do is fueled by the Google reviews and the referrals. So you have to do a great job for your clients to get the 5-star Google review. And those Google reviews are mission critical for 3 different things. Number one, it influences your local service ad placement, your Google Maps placement, and overall SEO. And number 3, and maybe the most important, is everybody looks at reviews these days. Not everybody, but a vast majority of people are going to look at your reviews, how many reviews, they're going to read the 5-star reviews, they're going to read the 1-star reviews, and you better not have too many of those. And so we've got to nurture the review process and then the referral process. And we believe that for every new client we get you, we can get you another client referred from your past clients. But we've got to nurture that with newsletters and social media. And we have a VIP program, and we do parties for our VIP customers. So there's a number of programs we deliver on the back end. So it's attract, convert, and then 5-star operations.
I like it. Attract, convert, and 5-star operations. That's definitely a process right there. It's a proven process for great, what would you call it? For great marketing, great referrals, great for success in terms of lead generation.
We call it the 10 golden rules law firm growth formula.
So growth for growth, like, the marketing for growth, like a successful process for growth. Yeah, successful marketing.
We got the advertising and marketing part figured out. We've been doing it for 22 years, and now we're helping firms with part 2 and part 3.
I love that. That's very important, and that's where your appreciation for processes is so important, because you can, you drive the traffic in, but then you have to have retention, and if they cannot be serviced, if there are no processes for servicing them, then you are losing, and then you're losing opportunities for actually getting more referrals and reviews that will start a cycle all over again of getting clients in. So I agree with you.
And we've built a number of technologies along the way. We have a proprietary technology called TGR Boomerang, for example. And I've got the Australian boomerang back here. And a boomerang, it's an Australian toy. You throw it out and it comes back and you can catch it. And a lot of leads come in and they're missed. And a lot of times people even call from Google ads and they hear Google say, this call is being recorded for quality assurance. And they don't, it hasn't even rang the phone at the customer's office yet. And they hang up because the call is being recorded. And if you're calling on a legal or medical matter, a lot of people hang up. But our software can actually capture the phone number and send a text to the intake team, and they can call that person right back, because it's a lead that you paid for, unless Google gives you credit for it. But it's actually a live lead of someone who's looking for a car accident attorney, a family lawyer, or some kind of medical professional. So Boomerang is very, very effective at generating.
It's very effective. Calls. It happened to me with a moving company. I needed to hire a moving company, and I Googled, review moving companies with good reviews, and I got, I went down. I mean, I called, nobody answered. I went down the list, and then I get a call back. You just called us. I go like, that's right. And she was very pleasant on the phone, was able to capture it, and they got my business because they got back to me, and she asked the right questions. But if she didn't, I mean, the rest of the companies, if nobody answers the phone, I just went down until because I allocated 15 minutes to get a moving company hired. I don't have time for them to anybody return my calls. That's the truth of it. This is the time I wanted to use in order to book the moving. And the fact that she called me within minutes, like a minute or so, and she said, I just missed a call from you. Can I help you with your move? What do you need? We start talking. I saw how pleasant she was, that she cared, that she called back. Got it done, and I got it done within the best time. Yeah,
it's great.
It works. It absolutely works. Jay, you are such an expert in what you do. You definitely, I'm sure our listeners got why we have you on this podcast today and how much you know about marketing. So you gave us the website on how to get a hold of you. Why don't you do that again in case they right now want to reach out, or any other way we can reach out to you?
Well, I mean, I'm lucky because I get in early on every social media. So I'm Jay Berkowitz on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. And I feel kind of bad for Dr. Jay Berkowitz and the university professor Jay Berkowitz, because they're very well known and highly regarded guys, but I always come up at the top of Google. So any of the social media, Jay Berkowitz or 10 Golden Rules, TEN goldenrules.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. That was a great interview with a lot of knowledge, and thank you for sharing all the information.
It was lots of fun for me too. Thanks so much, Adi.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.